Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Aquarium Online Academy. My name is Sonia, and I am joined in the studio by my friends Cole and Edgar, and they are going to be working all of this magic that you see going on right behind me. We want to thank you all for joining us, and a reminder that if you are watching this live on Tuesday, September 9th at 9 a.m., go ahead and participate with us. We do have a number that you are able to call if you would like to ask questions or anything like that. That number is going to be 562-286-1838. And if you are watching this at a time later on, feel free to still participate and ask those questions. You can send us an email at live@lbaop.org, and someone will be sure to get back to you with any of those questions that you might have later on. So today we have a super fun program. Today we're going to be moving and grooving just like some sea animal friends. And so as we are exploring different animals, I want us to take note of what we notice. So we're going to be practicing making some observations, seeing what sorts of shapes and colors that we might notice on these friends, as well as how they might use their bodies to move along and navigate in their ocean habitats, okay? So let's go ahead and see which amazing ocean animal, we are going to meet first for our moving and grooving time. Alrighty, Cole. Whatever you have for us, we're ready. Oh, lovely. Okay, scientists, what I have right here behind me is a very cool habitat called a tide pool habitat. And in this habitat, lots of different ocean animals are going to be living inside of it. I'm going to go ahead and take a step off and see if you can point out any particular animals you might recognize. Alrighty, so some animal that I notice in here that is sticking out to me are going to be these friends right over here called anemones. Yes, if you said anemones, you were correct. There's other animals in here that we will explore as well, but let's see if we can get a nice and close look at a sea anemone. And then we can talk about how these friends might like to move their bodies. Perfect. Whoa, what do we have here? What do we see? Hmm. I see the color yellow right over here in the center. And I'm also seeing all of these tentacles right all around our sea anemone. Something really cool about these animals is that right here in that center, that's actually going to be their mouth. And the way that they eat is they will use these tentacles to grab a hold of their prey. They might sting it and then bring it into their mouth. So, if we were going to move our bodies like a sea anemone, what we might like to do is sway a little bit. Often when the waves are coming in and out of the tide pool, you will see their tentacles swaying in the ocean waves. So you can move your body like this. Oh, one thing I forgot is that they have one foot. So go ahead and take both of your legs, glue them together, stand up nice and tall, and then we can get our tentacles out and sway like an anemone. You can also reach out and grab a snack, bring it into your mouth, and then continue swaying. Maybe something else comes by and you want to grab that and bring it into your mouth. Mmm, I love swaying like a sea anemone. Very, very cool. If you have ever seen these animals in real life, maybe at a tide pool or even here at the aquarium, you might notice that their texture, especially right around these tentacles here, is very sticky. And that allows them to catch a hold of their prey. So that's a really cool adaptation that these animal friends have that allows them to eat. Okay, I have a feeling that the next animal we're going to meet also lives in a tide pool habitat. So let's go back to our tide pool and see what other animals might be living in there. Perfect. What other things are you noticing in this tide pool? I am noticing all of these friends right here, even some right over there. There's one over there. What are those called? Hmm. Sea stars. Yes. If you said a sea star, you are correct. What sort of colors do we notice on our friends here? I'm noticing a lot of different shades of pink, like this up here, as well as this one right over here. But I'm also seeing some purple on this friend right over here. Let's see if we can look at a nice close-up picture of a sea star. And as we are looking at it, we might also point out what shape these friends are in. Oh, perfect, yes. Here we have lots of different bat stars. Friends, what shape is this? Yeah, a star. If you were thinking star, you are correct. How many arms are we noticing on our sea stars? I'm going to start with this one right here and see if we can count how many arms we see together. All right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, right here, and 5 right up there. There we go. 5 arms on our sea star. If you were a sea star, how do we think we would move? How do we think we would move our bodies? Friends, do we think that these animals are going to be moving really quickly, or do we think they are going to be moving slow? Hmm. Well, I bet we have a video maybe that we can pull up of how these animals move and exactly the body parts that they are using to move. I'm going to step off here in just a second so we can figure out together how these animals move their bodies. Amazing! Scientists, what we have here are what are known as tube feet. All along this area right here, our sea star is going to have so many of these tube feet. You might notice that they look very similar to the tentacles on the sea anemone. And they do have that same stickiness to them. They have suction cups at the end that they can use to stick onto things. But they're not going to have those same stinging abilities as our sea anemone. Sea stars are going to have dozens and dozens of these tube feet all along their undersides, and that is what they are going to use to be able to move in this habitat. Um, you might notice that they will be flat, just like this. So if we were to take our hand, we can pretend that this is going to be our sea anemone. And then we're going to put it flat, just like this, and have it glide slowly, just like that, the same way that a sea anemone would. Why don't we go ahead and see if we can look at a picture of or a video of a sea anemone moving, gliding across the ocean floor, and I'll step off so you can make some observations of that. We have got a really cool picture or video of an anemone here and a clownfish hanging out in our anemone. Let's see if we can look at a sea star gliding on the floor, walking. Um, and I think it should already be in the on the folder, but if not, that is totally okay. Look at amazing, perfect. So we have our sea star here, and look at just how slowly our sea star is gliding along the ocean floor. These are going to be animals that are not moving the quickest, but they still are able to make their way and travel along the ocean floor slowly and steadily wins the race. And it seems like our sea star friends definitely are aware of that. Alrighty, scientists, what do we think our next animal friend is going to be? Who are we going to be able to move around like next? Let's see here. Whatever Cool would like to put up, that is going to be okay with me. I have a feeling this next animal is going to be able to move interesting on land as well as in the ocean. Maybe a bird of sorts. Whichever we have in store. Something that we can also point out about our friends are the body parts that they might use to do other things like feed themselves or walk around. Perfect. What do we have here, scientists? If you said penguin, you are correct. So, well, in order to move like a penguin on land, all you have to do is you can put your arms out like this. This can sort of be like their flippers. And then you can just waddle, waddle, waddle like a penguin in a circle if you would like, or around the room. Waddle like a penguin. Great job, scientists. Now, these animals might not be the quickest when they are on land, and that's okay because when they are in the ocean, when they are diving and swimming, they are going to be moving very quickly. Let's see if we can look at a clip of some really cool penguins going for a swim. Hmm. Scientists, do you think that they are going to be doing a lot of hopping out of the water? Do you think they're just going to be gliding? Let's take a look. I'm going to step off so you can get a nice unobstructed view here of some penguins swimming. Amazing. Wow. Look at how peaceful they look. Sort of just flapping their flippers and floating along. They sort of remind me of some other birds I've seen swimming, kind of like maybe some ducks that might be in a pond. Don't let this clip fool you, however, because these penguins can also swim pretty fast and dive to the depths in order to be able to get some fish that they might want to snack on. So while they are just hanging out, they might be, relaxing their flippers a little bit more and just kind of using it to stay afloat. But when they are diving, you will see them sort of wiggling their bodies using those feet that we see here that are nice and webbed right there to also paddle and kick their feet that will push them forward into the water as they are diving. So you can go ahead and practice swimming or diving if you were going deep, just like a penguin would to get a snack. Amazing work, scientists. Alrighty, friends. So, our next animal is going to be whatever. Let's see what Cole is going to put up for us. I have a feeling this animal might only be able to swim in the ocean and might not come up on land. I have a feeling they're going to have a lot of different fins. What will we have in store today? Any guesses what that animal might be? Do we think it's going to be some sort of fish, perhaps? or an octopus, or a shark? If you were guessing shark, you are correct. Before we go ahead and move our bodies like a shark, I want us to just make some observations and see how our sharks in this exhibit are swimming. Alrighty, scientists, what have we noticed? Are our sharks swimming super rapidly, very fast, or are they swimming kind of slow and steady, very stealthy, maybe even, right? What if I told you that sharks are very, very stealthy or quiet swimmers? They are able to move nicely without causing too much disruption to the water as they move along. The way that I like to pretend to be a shark is I'll take my hands like this, clap them together like a shark fin, and then put it on my head just like this, and then I'll swim around just like a shark. Just like this. So you can go ahead and practice that. You can swim in a circle, or you can swim to the other side of your room wherever you are. Practice swimming like a shark. Amazing. Great work. Let's go ahead and look at a picture of a shark so we can point out some different things on it. Oh, amazing. Scientists, do we have any guesses as to which particular shark we might be looking at here? I'm going to take a step off so you can have a nice full view of our friend, and then I'll come back and we will talk about it. All right, if you were thinking leopard shark, you are correct. So right here, we have a lovely leopard shark, and the way that I know what type of shark it is because of this spotted pattern that we have right here. Are you guys seeing these spots? Some of them are a lot larger, like this one right here, but then there are also some teeny tiny ones in between those larger spots. And that's going to make up that beautiful pattern of a leopard shark. So talking about the different things that this animal has on its body, we can start off with the one we were just moving like, which is going to be this dorsal fin right here. When we clapped our hands and put it on our head just like this is called the dorsal fin. And this actually has a really important job for our sharks. What this is going to do is allow them to cut through the water nice and swiftly and be able to swim at a decent speed. The larger dorsal fin that an animal has sort of gives you a clue as to just how fast they can swim. Moving along to some other fins, we are also going to have this pectoral fin right over here. Pectoral fin, you can think of it as sort of the chest. So like pectoral is going to be right here on humans, which is where our chest is. Very similar to right here on a shark, these pectoral fins are going to be close to their chest, right? So they're going to have them on either sides, and these work similar to wings on a plane. So when we were watching our sharks swimming, did we see their pectoral fins moving up and down like this? No, right? The same way that planes use their wings to sort of just glide and steer, these are what these fins are going to do on our shark friend. So these pectoral fins help them to steer if they want to maybe go to the left or to the right, but they aren't really going to be flapping them up and down the same way that a bird would. Alrighty, moving along to some other fins. We are going to have this fin right at the end, which is going to be our caudal or tail fin. And our tail fin also has a really important function. What they are going to do is come together just like this. If we were using our hands to demonstrate, we would bring them together like this and then move it side to side. And this is what allows our animal to have some force to push them through the water as they are swimming. So, Just to reiterate, we've got our dorsal fin right up here, and this allows them to be fast and to cut through the water. We also have our pectoral fin, and that helps them to be able to steer and glide nicely. And then we are going to have our dorsal fin right over this way, and that allows them to have some force as they swim nicely through that water. Alrighty, scientists, we talked about anemones, a sea star, we talked about penguins, a shark. What animal could we find out next? How they move? Any guesses on what it could be? I have a feeling this animal sort of just goes with the flow and just sort of lets the water push it wherever it would like to go. Any guesses? Any thoughts, hypothesis on what you think this animal could be? Do we think this animal is going to be super colorful? Do you think it's going to have a lot of patterns? Let's see. Ah, amazing. Scientists, what type of animals are these? Yes, if you said jellyfish or sea jellies, you are correct. I'm going to go ahead and take a step off and see if we can notice exactly just how their bodies are moving. Whoa, that was so cool. I don't know about you, friends, but I could honestly watch jellies swim for hours. They just look super peaceful, right? Okay, if I were to be a sea jelly, how would I move my body? I'm noticing that they aren't moving very fast, right? No, they're kind of just pulsing along and letting the water take them wherever it is that they're going to go. So, in order to move our bodies like a sea jelly, the first thing that we need is going to be our bell. So, that's going to be that large round structure that you see right over here, actually. That right there. That's their bell. So, you can go ahead and use your arms to sort of emulate that and kind of move it up and down, right? Pulsing like a sea jelly. And the way that I like to think of myself moving is just letting the ocean carry me. So if the waves are pushing me up this way, all of the jellies are going to go this way. And if the wave is pushing me this way, now all the sea jellies are moving this way. Maybe they're all going to move closer. And they're all going to move to the back. Move your body like a sea jelly. Great work. Now let's see. Can we use our tentacles to grab a hold of something and put it into our jelly mouth for a snack? Great work, scientists. Let's go ahead and look at a close-up picture of a sea jelly and talk a little bit more about their bodies and how they use their awesome adaptations. Any picture will do. Amazing! Perfect. So, right over here, we have a nice close-up of a sea jelly. Let's talk about their bodies for just a second. Starting at the top, just as I mentioned, we have this bell, this sort of bell shape that you see. And this is going to do a lot of things for our jelly. First off, it lets them to be able to move around, so they might pulse their bell just like this up and down. The other things that I am noticing on here are, yes, you guessed it, these tentacles that we see. Scientists, do all of the tentacles look exactly the same, like these ones in the middle and these ones on the outside, or do they look a little bit different? Different, right? One thing that I notice is that the ones near the edges are a lot thinner and longer as well. And the reason for that is because those are going to be what our jelly primarily uses for stinging. So the main role, the main job of these thinner tentacles are for stinging and catching a hold of their prey. And then in the center, if we look at these sort of lacier ones, these ones look more lacier to me. Those are going to be called oral arms. And those are going to be what our friends use to start digesting and eating their food. And then once they've got it, they will bring it up into their mouth, which is going to be right at the top, and start digesting it inside of their bell here. Very interesting, right? A lot different than the way that we eat our food, right? So you can sort of think of these arms as a mouth arm because they're able to taste and start that digestion process. Very different than how we eat, right? We don't use our arms and start eating things just like that. Alrighty, scientists, let's go ahead and see our next animal that we're going to be able to meet today. Any guesses? Oh, perfect. Friends, what do we have here? Yes, a stingray. If you said a ray or a stingray, you are correct. And this is one of my favorite types of rays called a bat ray. I'm going to go ahead and take a step off and allow you to make some observations and see what you notice about our bat ray friend here. Alrighty, so now that you've gotten a nice clear view, what are some of the things that you notice? What are some things that we are seeing on our friend here? One thing that I am noticing is right over here, right there, there is a stinger. Right there. Or a very long tail, rather. A very long tail. And on the end, that is where the barb is going to be for our bat ray. And they are going to be using that to defend themselves against any sort of predators that they might come in contact with or anything that they need to defend themselves. So our bat rays are going to have a stinger. I'm also noticing a nice dark coloration here. A very dark sort of gray, almost blackish color. And that helps our ray to be able to camouflage. So if we're looking down at our ray, let's say we're swimming in the ocean and we're above it, if we're looking down, this color here is going to allow our friend to be able to camouflage with the ocean floor. And I know you can't tell in this picture, but right over here, the underside of them, you can kind of see it here, is actually going to be a very bright, almost white color. And so if we were now below our ray and looking up at it, their bright tummies are going to be able to blend in with the sunlight coming down through the water. So they will be camouflaged both from the top and from the bottom down here, which I think is a really cool adaptation. All right, scientists, we are going to wrap up with a really cool video that we have of some of our rays feeding. And let's see if you notice exactly how their bodies are going to be moving when they are ready to eat. And then we'll see if we can move our bodies like that as well. Oh, amazing. Are we seeing that, scientists? How are our rays moving? Kind of like this, right? They are using those pectoral fins, right? Just that we learned about with sharks, and sort of just flapping them. Here, I'll move to this side too, so you can see our friends just moving their bodies. Amazing. Alrighty, scientists. Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing episode of Aquarium Online Academy. We hope that you will join us for our next program at 10 a.m., which is going to be all about sea turtles. And of course, remember to go ahead and use that email if you are watching this a little bit later and you still have questions. But yeah, we hope to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Continue to be curious and ask questions and be scientists. And we'll see you, friends, a little bit later. Bye.